Having a high quality and dynamic online presence is incredibly important if you're a business, a community, an organization, and even as an individual. And I created a video earlier where I talk about why it's important to have your own online presence that's not bound to a platform. I'll link it up here in a card and down below, where I talk about what hosting is and why it's so important for you to not put your online presence onto someone else's platform, but to build your own website, to build your own blog, to build your own e-com solution that you control, and you can connect to these other services, but ultimately the core of your online presence is your online presence and not bound by someone else's platform. Well, in this video, I'm going to go a little deeper into hosting by showing you one of my favorite hosting providers, Cloudways. Cloudways is something that I mentioned in the previous video, and here I'm going to go through and talk about the specific features of Cloudways that can really help you succeed in having that foundation that you're going to need in order to build up your online presence. Let's go take a look at Cloudways. If you own a business, if you're part of an organization, if you're an individual blogger, you have expertise. You have expertise on the products, services, organizational objectives, and subjects that you're speaking to. The challenge is you may not have as much technical expertise on how to build a platform in order to serve that out to your audience on the internet. And thankfully, we have services like Cloudways that can handle all of that technical layer, all of that technical infrastructure that's required for us to present what we know about onto the internet. And it's important to spend a little bit of time to make sure that you're choosing a host provider like Cloudways that can both allow you to start out as well as grow as your services, your business, your organization become larger and there's more demands placed upon your online presence. So here I am on the Cloudways interface. It's cloudways.com, and you can see here that there's a lot of information here already on the main page. You can see that you can have a free trial just to get used to it. You don't even need a credit card for that. And they have various plans. I'm going to go through the interface and show you what's available with Cloudways. And then in some subsequent videos, I'll go into specific areas in a lot more depth and talk about how to set up very specific elements of Cloudways. But for now, let's take a quick look. So underneath the products, you can see that they have a really nice selection of products. Some of these will make no sense to you if you're not using them, but it's nice to know that this as a company is going to allow me to have this much infrastructure and these many products that I can use as I need them. Probably if you're someone like a blogger, you'll notice right away that they support things like WordPress. A lot of blogs are written using the WordPress authoring tools. That's how we write our blog. And you now need a place to put all the files and all the things you create. That's where Cloudways comes in. You'll notice there's a whole bunch of other things. Some other ones you may be familiar with would be things like Amazon Web Services. A lot of large e-commerce companies use Amazon Web Services in order to run, again, all of that back-end technology infrastructure. So you can go in here. There's a lot of different tools. I'm not going to do an overview of every button, but the point is that Cloudways isn't just one solution. Cloudways offers multiple solutions so that you can really customize your internet presence. If we work with someone else's platform, we're usually kind of in their world, and this we can create our own world. Now, if we go into some of the solutions as opposed to just products, you can see that they have a number of solutions aimed at different individuals. So if you want to, for example, have small, medium-sized business hosting, you can have that. You can go in and there's bloggers and publishers if you're creating your own blog and you want to publish your own content. There's e-commerce hosting if you want to sell products on the internet, and so on and so forth. One of the things that I really like about Cloudways is they have a lot of developer features as well. So if you're a developer, you probably already know a little bit more about hosting, but when it comes to development, you need to have support for the languages we're developing in. If you're an individual, at some point as your business grows, as your blog grows, you may want to bring on a developer, and you want to make sure that the platform you've chosen for your blog, for your business, is one that will allow them to do the things that you're hoping to do as you expand. We can go in and see lots and lots of different features of Cloudways. Now, in my previous video where I talk about what a hosting service is and why it's so important to have your own presence on the internet, I talked a lot about things that were critical when you're selecting your hosting service. You can see here that we have performance. This is an actual key area. Well, they're all key areas, but this is a very important one where if you start with a different hosting service or if you start with someone else's platform, a lot of times you can get up and running quite quickly, but as you start getting more business or customers, all of a sudden the performance runs into issues. And this is absolutely horrible because it means that you're growing, but you can't maintain the pace of growth because all of a sudden your hosting provider is going to fail at providing the performance you need. Well, with Cloudways, you can see that we have really good performance where you can unlock layers of service. So it recognizes if you're starting to get a lot more traffic and it adapts to that traffic. That's a fantastic feature. Security is another feature that's incredibly important. With security, it's not a one-time feature. It's something that needs to be constantly looked at. And Cloudways has an entire dedicated department and staff to, well, I assume they have a department and staff. It's evident that they're keeping up to speed on what's happening in the world of security. So you can have this hosting provider handle a lot of the cyber threats that might be out there, and your website can just continue to function without you having to learn about cybersecurity. Your expertise is in the products and services you're selling. Then we have support. This is, again, very important. Support's one of those things that when you need it quite badly. And then ease of use. You can actually set up a website and you can set up a hosting solution absolutely quickly using Cloudways. And I'll be doing some videos where I go from beginning to end on Cloudways, where we're going to set up an entire environment. Here we're just taking a look at Cloudways and why it's such a good choice as a hosting solution. Now, one of the reasons I also like to use Cloudways when I'm building up websites or creating an online presence is not just for these great features, but also the fact that they continually add new features and adapt to the way that the internet is changing. Things change in the world of technology, and you need to make sure your hosting provider adapts to those changes by adding new features and add-ons. So don't worry too much about what malware protection is or what cron jobs are. The point is that they're used when we're building websites. You may never need these features, but this is indicative of the fact that Cloudways is constantly being aware of what's happening in the industry and the features that people are starting to use. So when you're ready to use these features, then they'll be there for you. Now, when it comes to pricing, this is an interesting area with Cloudways because Cloudways allows you to use various different cloud data centers or service providers in order to host your website. This is a little bit tricky in terms of if you don't understand cloud services. I do have some videos here on the channel where I talk about cloud services, but in brief, you need to have servers and hard drives and internet access. You need to have all of these things in order to provide that layer of infrastructure. Cloudways goes in and it allows you to do the hosting, but it allows you to connect to different infrastructure providers. So some of the infrastructure providers we might have is DigitalOcean, who actually own Cloudways. There's Vultr, which is another service that has different servers distributed around the world, and you can see that you can choose them as your provider. You can choose Linode as your provider. If you'd like to go with Amazon Web Services, you can use them as your provider, and you can use Google Cloud as your provider. Now, generally speaking, you'll notice that the prices change depending on the provider, and that's really going to be indicative of how much that these companies generally charge to use their infrastructure or a portion of their infrastructure. I'm always fond of saying if I go in here for $14 a month, I'm getting access to a hundreds of millions of dollars of equipment, and I'm just taking a little portion of that, but it's as if I've got $100 million of equipment. I'm just using a portion of it in order to have my website, to have my internet presence. And that's really the benefit of the cloud. But this isn't a cloud video. The point here is that we have pricing on here. The pricing is flexible. It allows you to grow with your business. So, spending something like $400, $500 a month on a web server is a legitimate expense if the web server is providing more than $500 worth of value. If you're just starting out, you can start out small and you can grow as you need to. So that's another great feature of the Cloudways solution. So if you go in and you want to start free, so I have a Cloudways account myself, but I'm going to go in as if I'm brand new here. And you can see that I'm going to be able to have a free trial, 3-day free trial, where I can take a look at things. I'll get my Object Cache Pro and my Secure Socket Layer certificate. So this is around speed, performance, and security. And I'll get the support in there, and I can have as many websites as I want. So the idea here is that when you have the hosting provider, it's instead of just having the host with one website, if I want to have several websites, maybe with different URLs, universal resource locators, that's your domain name. So if I wanted to have one website called learningwithfrank.com and another website that is techtipswithfrank.com, I could have those multiple websites and I could host them in one place. That is super convenient. You can see that I have multiple ways that I can sign in. So I can utilize things like I can go in and use my DigitalOcean account if I have one, my LinkedIn account, a GitHub account, a Google account, or I can just use my own email. So I'm going to go ahead and do this, and then we'll have a look and see what we have in here. So I've gone in and I provided Cloudways with a name, an email address. I set myself up with a password, and then it asked me what type of user I would describe myself as, whether I'm a business, a blogger, whatever the case may be. I chose blogger for this demo, and then it created this interface for me where I can now log in. And you can see that the first thing that we get is a very easy to navigate Start Now, Welcome to Cloudways interface, where I can go in. It talks a little bit about the services and the things that I can do. So a good example is maybe I'm starting a new blog. I don't really need the seamless web collaboration yet, but it's nice to know that it's going to be there when I want that. And so I can go Start Now, and you can see here, I can then choose what service do I want to use, and I'm on a 3-day trial. So you'll notice that with the 3-day trial, I can use any of these providers to provide that infrastructure. You'll notice that AWS, Amazon, and Google are not options to select. These are ones that I would need to upgrade in order to unlock. So generally speaking, if I know that I'm going to use Amazon Web Services or Google Cloud Platform because maybe I need to integrate with other services that they offer, then I may go ahead and upgrade at this point. However, if I'm just starting out with a blog, if I'm just starting out with a business, I do not necessarily need the features of AWS or Cloud Platform. I might go with something like the DigitalOcean solution. And then I can choose the size of the service. Notice I can choose the location of my server as well. This indicates a couple of things. One, I can build a solution that is global in scale. It also shows that DigitalOcean, as an example, has servers located in multiple locations around the world. If I was to go into Vultr, for example, you'll notice that I can go through, choose locations around the world. If I go into Linode, I can go into locations. Notice they have different locations around the world. So really, by choosing the different providers here, I can actually see, different locations around the world where I may wish to locate my server. I'm up here in Canada, so if I go to DigitalOcean and I choose to look for a server here in Canada, you'll notice, and I didn't see it here, I don't have a Canadian server. For whatever reason, if I absolutely need to have a Canadian server due to legislation, preference, whatever the case may be, then I can choose another provider here and I could, have my Toronto server. So you can see that you have options, and that's a very powerful thing that Cloudways offers us. The ability to choose who's going to provide the service in the background and where it's going to be located. Notice here that the application is already defaulted to WordPress. Bloggers use WordPress. I could change the application that I'm using. And again, I have to be careful that this isn't going to be a 3-hour video. I'll make other videos on different aspects, but you could, if you wanted to, think of WordPress as being like a word processor, like Word. And instead of writing a document like a letter or a resume, you're writing a blog post. And then that blog post, the words you write are going to be put into a template, which WordPress has, and that's going to make your website. That's nothing to do with the host at this point, except for the fact that Cloudways supports WordPress and keeps you up to date. And there's other tools in here that you can use in terms of creating blog posts. You can create custom applications in here. There's a lot you can do. If you're a blogger, you're going to use WordPress for most of the time. There are some exceptions to that. That's another video. Comment down below if you would like a video on how to set up a blog and run your own system. So you can see I'm not going to go through in this video and create it from end to end, but the idea here is that I'm going to be able to go in and I'm going to be able to make selections in here and get up and running with the infrastructure all built for me. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my domain name, learnwithfrank.com, techtipswithfrank.com. I have one called summittechacademy.com, and I could link that and point it here so that this now holds all the files in the server, and when a user goes in and they type in the name of my company, learningwithfrank.com, it will direct them to this particular site that will provide them with the website and everything that I've created and put on the website. So you can see it's very easy to go in. Now, if I go into here, I'll go back into, now that I've logged in, I'll just go in here and exit this session here. So I've just logged in. I need to authenticate my email address, and then I'll be able to log in. I'll also get a whole bunch of different management tools, but let's save that for another video. What I wanted to show you in this video was how Cloudways has all of the features that I need from a quality hosting provider. There's a link down below where you can go and you can set up your own Cloudways account. It's very easy to do, and start exploring some of the features and the functions that are available. It has everything that we need from a high quality hosting platform, plus it does some things that no other platform does in a really unique, interesting, and powerful way. We get our security, we get our performance, we get our customer support, we get our ability to scale, which is very important, and we get the variety and pricing plans so that we can grow our business as appropriate with more and more powerful resources. And that really is actually just the tip of the iceberg. There's a lot of maintenance and monitoring tools that are also available once we have our blog, once we have our website set up. Which, if you're interested in seeing how to do that, comment down below on whether you'd like to see me set up a blog or set up a website using the Cloudways platform. It really is a very robust hosting solution. If you haven't seen the video yet where I talk about why you want to have a hosting solution, I'll link it up here somewhere, and I'll link it down below. That talks more about what is a hosting solution and why it's so important. This video talks about Cloudways as a really good platform for a hosting solution, and I'll make subsequent videos where I talk about specific things within the platform, setting up a blog, setting up a website. If you just comment down below and let me know which areas you're interested in seeing. Thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.